Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Along with me, as always, is Mike. Um, Mike, a weird week for Marvel. We're going to have a couple videos. Our next two videos are going to talk about some of the things Marvel is doing, some announcements this week. A couple really classic stories are being essentially undone by Marvel or rewritten. And we'll tackle both of those. The first one we wanted to talk about, apparently there's going to be an event coming up where they are going to rewrite giant size X-Men or kind of alter the events of giant size X-Men to put Miss Marvel into the mix of the original X-Men characters. And this is kind of interesting from a few reasons, and I'll let you kind of get into the historical stuff, but Miss Marvel is a character that nobody really seems to want. It's a character who has had multiple canceled comics. It's a character who has had, they originally made her an Inhuman. That did not work. So the Inhumans were canceled. They decided then to make her
We're
associate.
talking about Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah. So Kamala Khan, originally an Inhuman, didn't work. Line got canceled. They decided to kind of just go it alone. They decided to integrate her into the Champions. That book got canceled. No one bought that, even though Mark Wade was writing that book.
Yeah.
Then they decided that, hey, we're going to associate her with the Avengers. And they gave her a huge push, making a huge AAA video game with the Avengers at around the peak of the Avengers. And deciding that she was more important of a character to make playable than Hawkeye or Vision or Scarlet Witch or any of the classic characters. She was one of the six Avengers in the game. That game, I believe, lost money, and I think the studio that made that either went bankrupt or sold back the rights, not wanting to do
Yep.
anything else with it.
Yep, they did.
After that, they decided to integrate her into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. That didn't really work so much. They killed her off only to revive her as a mutant. They gave her a TV show on Disney Plus, which I believe is the lowest rated Disney Plus show they've ever had in terms of ratings. They even decided to give her the little X-Men 97 theme as part of her thing. They resurrected her as a mutant. She had a comic book that was canceled after a couple issues. They gave her a Team X-Men book that has been canceled after a couple of issues. I think that's ending with issue 10. And now, instead of just kind of getting the message, they're deciding, hey, we're going to actually make her rewrite history to put her in giant size X-Men #1. I do this. I don't
You-
get it. Look, I have no problem with a character like Miss Marvel existing. I think it's great that they tried to make a girl teenage superhero to try to get younger readers. That's fantastic. It has not worked. And I forgot to mention created a team called the Marvels in a huge Marvel Cinematic Universe movie
Oh, there
that
was
I
that.
believe
Yeah.
lost them about $200 million as well. So this character has failed on basically every front. It's not to say there's no fans of the character. Originally, it was a very successful kind of solo issue, and obviously the character found some success. But now they're literally really willing to rewrite history to add this character. And yes, you can't go back and actually physically. It's not like they're going to go back and find the reprints of the old comic and insert her into that, but they're attempting that. Mike, what do you think about this whole thing? Well, why do you think this is such a dogged determination from Marvel to do this and undo their history even to try to get this done?
Number one, you don't touch Giant Size X-Men #1. You just don't touch it. That is a classic comic, probably the most seminal comic of all the Bronze Age. That comic with master writers Chris Claremont and Len Wein, um, to revamp X-Men and bring them forward into the future. Probably, I'm trying to think of another Bronze Age comic that was more impactful. I can't think of one. Can you?
Not really, because I mean, X-Men was almost a dead brand at that point, and that single-handedly kind of revived
Mm-hmm.
that group. And I mean, and you talk
You, you
about
you just don't
well,
touch it.
well, how many great characters in that issue? Nightcrawler, Storm, Colossus,
Everybody
Wolverine
we
was
love.
revamped from his original Hulk. I mean, you even had like characters like Thunderbird or Warpath in there. I mean, there's so many good characters that were there. It really gave the X-Men brand second life because really the X-Men, I believe they were canceled, right? And they were in reprints for a while.
Yeah.
Like the brand had kind of died, and this
What they
that
did
revived it.
is they took the work that Neil Adams did in the late 60s and kind of tried to bring it forward. And it was Chris Claremont's vision, along with Len Wein, that really just set that brand forward and made it into what we know and love. So you can't touch that comic book. That is comic book blasphemy to redo it, and it's just bad. But I really think this is just the veil being lifted off of, completely off of what we already heard. This is the top down business bean counters envision that this is the character that they landed on, that they wanted to push. They probably really wanted to push her into the MCU maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. They probably had some master plan, like this is going to hit on all cylinders and we need to push it. And so, once again, instead of letting, we know comic books are an idea farm, right?
Yep.
And
Basically, at this point, they exist
the,
as potential plot lines for movies and things
right,
instead of on their own.
and they have been looted for ideas for the last 30, 40 years to make these big budget movies and other media ventures like video games and television shows, you name it. And but rather than letting the creatives, giving them the freedom and hiring the right creatives to develop new ideas of their own volition and accord, you can kind of see them toying around from the top down and pushing these initiatives and scenarios to make movies that nobody's going to watch. So why would you take this wrecking ball of a character? Most of a comic book history, they float a character like that. It doesn't do well. They move on. That's sanity. What's the definition of insanity? Like having this
Different
wrecking
results.
ball of a character, like wreck all these comics, like nobody's really interested. Oh, we try a TV show, nobody's interested. We throw her in a movie, it loses money. What do? We're gonna bring her back
Video
into
game loses
comics,
money. No,
and
I mean at this point, once this X-Men thing with her fails, I can't wait for when they rewrite Fantastic Four #1 and make it there was five people up there and
yeah,
she was the fifth member, or maybe
Fantastic Five,
the
Miss
original
Marvel.
Herald of Galactus was Miss Marvel or something like that at this point. I mean, she's really only got a couple franchises left they can insert her in and let her try to ruin in
Look,
terms of I guess you
they've
could take out
tried
the
everything.
Guardians of the Galaxy and the Fantastic Four after this.
And
Um,
they've tried everything with her, and look, it's just didn't work. You got to come up with a different character. She is not Venom. She is not Deadpool. She's not Wolverine. Those are characters that were new and exciting and got developed and came forward. And, Scarlet Witch arguably, was kind of a lost character, but they kind of reinvented her and brought her back. She was relatively successful in the movie, and also the television show, which arguably, some people like, some people didn't, but it was a
it was
success.
a show.
But
It was
Miss
one of the only
Marvel,
Disney Plus shows people watched.
Miss, but Miss Marvel is not that character.
Well, and I think the thing is, there's two things on this, and one's a sensitive issue for folks because I hate how everything just turns into the ugliest conversation. But the clear reason Miss Marvel is being pushed is Marvel wants to push diversification efforts at their company. They want to have heroes who look a little different, come from different demographics and things like that. I think it was a good story idea when they had it, but the push of this character, I believe, is for that. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But what
But
has
this
happened
character
is
didn't work. I
this
mean, they
character didn't work. When you
a,
look at
a
giant
good
size
creative,
X-Men, go ahead,
and
Mike.
it's not because the character is this or that.
No, it's no one
It's
likes
just you
It
know,
just
the
doesn't
idea
hit.
fell flat. She's got stretchy powers. Now she's got big powers.
Still
You
light
gotta,
powers now in the MC. Yeah, they don't.
you've got to design a better character than that.
Well, they just
You give
decided
us
that
that
she's like, oh,
character and
she's
we'll get
this
behind you.
little dorky personality, and people are just gonna love that. And it was a cool little niche when it came out. Again, I was never a fan of the character, but I understood her appeal. That's played out. They never found a way to move her on past the original issues, and that's the thing that comic books don't do anymore. Is Peter Parker. I mean, how much content do we have Peter Parker in high school now? That was really only the first 2 years of comics. After that, Peter was in college, and that's the thing that they don't do for these newer characters, and where I don't necessarily think Kamala Khan's like an awful character, but you have to evolve the character. You have to let the character grow up. If you just want to keep her as this perpetual high schooler who's just, oh, she's so dorky and fun, people get tired of that. And like you said, it doesn't mean the character's bad. There are characters whose lot in life is they are not a lead character. There are characters that you and I love at DC Comics that just are not lead characters. I think Martian Manhunter is one of the coolest comic book characters ever created. He can't hold a solo series. No matter
Yeah,
who
I
they've
know.
tried it with, no matter how many times they revamp it, his lot in life is he is a cool member of the Justice League. And that is who he gets to be. There are characters like Luke Cage and Iron Fist that I love. Sometimes they have enough interest to carry a thing, but they're not superstars like Spider Man or Batman or Wolverine, where they can consistently have a solo series. There's just certain characters where, look, the audience tells you, no, man, it's not what we're looking for. You could make Miss Marvel work, but put her on one team, keep her there, and throw her in the Kitty Pryde role, where she's just a member of the team.
Yeah.
Occasionally, she gets a spotlight issue. What this seems to be is it's more like Marvel, like, no, you will accept this character, and we'll freaking rewrite history to make you accept this character. And
That's
all
the
this
wrong
seems to
way
be
to
doing
go.
is,
It's just a wrong way to go. The greats, to give it a historical perspective, there was a lot of characters that Jack Kirby created that didn't make it. A
wait,
lot of
Kirby,
them
what?
did. But did
Commandi.
Jack Kirby double and triple down on the characters that didn't work? No. He moved on because he was a genius and he had a virtual fountain of other characters that he could create.
Oh, I mean,
And
how
that's
many
the same
the,
with
the
all the great
challengers,
creators.
Commandi? I mean, so many great Kirby works that we can look back now and go, man, that's really good. They didn't work. We don't have a monthly Commandi comic. It
No, we
didn't work.
don't.
It's not that Kirby created a bad idea. It's just not something that audiences
Yeah.
ate up the way that they wanted them to. And I think the thing that always gets lost in some of these conversations is people want to make stuff about, well, it's because she's this and this, and that's why I want to push her. And I do believe that's a little bit of why Marvel wants to do this. But the thing is, people get so hung up on the diversity portion of comic books today. And the thing is, it's not, we will accept well-written characters, no matter what
There
they
you
are.
go.
And Giant Size X-Men is the greatest point of that. Because you go back, that comic is at 50 years old at this point, Mike.
Hmm.
About that comic centers on a Canadian superhero, a Russian superhero, a German superhero, an African goddess, a Native American superhero, and I think Sunfire's in there as a Japanese hero. You
Yes.
don't have a more diverse push of characters ever than in that comic.
And
And
that was
people bought it,
1974.
loved it, read it, and those characters are still around. And arguably, you could say Wolverine and Storm are the two most popular members of the X-Men, even surpassing the original Kirby and Stan creations of Scott and Jean and those characters.
That's why you
He,
don't mess with that book. That's why
and
you
and
don't
the
mess
thing
with
is,
that.
when people talk about like, and this comes to a head with stuff like Falcon as Captain America. The reason that we don't like Falcon as Captain America has nothing to do with the fact that he is not a white guy like Captain America. It's that they don't write him like they do Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is allowed to fail. He has a love life. Steve Rogers has his personal nemesis. He has his personal enemies. He has a character. He has a story arc. Falcon kind of just exists through all the storylines with Falcon are it's not a white guy with the shield. And that's the only story they know how to tell with Falcon is Captain America. And while you can mine that for something, that will only get you so far. You eventually have to give him nemesises and you have to give him a love life and you have to give him battles and wins and losses the way you do with the other characters. And it's actually a huge disservice to Sam Wilson as a character that you won't do that. And I think that's the same thing with Miss Marvel is look, there are certain characters. I read the New Warriors when that was a comic in the 90s. They tried these revamps kind of heroes. There was a cool character called Night Thrasher. He was like a millionaire whose parents died, all that stuff. Had a
Yeah.
skateboard. I mean, like a complete 90s character. I
Right.
love that
Right.
character. He never
Yeah.
took off. His lot in life is he doesn't get to be the lead character. It doesn't mean the character sucks. It doesn't mean I hate the character. It just people don't buy his comic. They've tried, even every couple years, every 5, 10 years, they toss out a mini series. It doesn't last. That character's Latin life is just he's a part of he's a cool downloadable character when you buy the Marvel game with all the characters. That's who he gets to be. And that's what
Yeah.
Miss Marvel is. And instead of accepting that, it's more like, no, we'll freaking rewrite history. She's an Inhuman. She's an Avenger. She's in the X-Men. She's all of them. Oh, we'll rewrite giant size X-Men and put her in there. And I think this all is leading to when they do the X-Men movie for MCU. This rewrite is just so they can make her one of the foundational X-Men. That's all
You
this
can
is.
see it coming, and it's like, no, she wasn't part of that team. She wasn't created till after that team. And for my part, for Sam Wilson, going back to Captain America, I like the movie, and I'm a huge
Fine.
Falcon fan, and it was fun to see. It was fun to see him with the wings and the shield. It was kind of cool. I do feel like if they do another one with him, they need to do some more character development with him and let us see more of him because I'm really fond of that character. I have been since I
He's a
was a
great
kid.
character played by a great actor. It's
Yeah,
just I think the
I
disappointing thing that connects with Kamala Khan, that connects with so many of these characters, is they handle the characters with kid gloves in a way they don't with the larger characters. I think there's almost like a tendency of, well, we can't let Sam lose the way Steve could because they're afraid of how that will come off. Like,
but
and what I've always
but
liked
every hero, the importance of these stories is every great hero has to fail at
yeah, no,
some
and
point.
that's
They
the
need to.
reason I think we don't get. Why do we like T'Challa? Like here's what I don't understand with people. Why do people love T'Challa but not so much Sam Wilson? Well, read T'Challa's comic books. T'Challa's comic books, they let him suffer. They let him lose. Killmonger beats him and throws him off the fountain and he has to come back. He kind
Yeah,
of has these epic moments that he fails. It doesn't make us hate the character. We actually love the character for that. The
and
same
then he
reason that
has
we
to
love
come back.
because
That's the whole.
it's the underdog story. It's Rocky
Yes.
Balboa. It's fiction. It's when you read and this is a foundational piece of fiction. It's go back to read the old Alexandre Dumas books like Count of Monte Cristo, Three Musketeers, stuff like Robin Hood. There's always the low point moment where the character fails and you think it's over, and the fun is the audience is okay. He's gonna win it back. Right, like
Yeah.
Batman always has that. The Bane story arc of we're gonna literally have his back broken and he's discarded and he's got to rebuild himself and come back and take back his city. Superman dies fighting Doomsday. How many times Spider-Man, the classic, the suit's in the trash can and he's walking away because he's quit. We love when the heroes have that moment that break because fiction and writing is just touching on real life things, not politics, not religion, not anything. It's real life human emotions. The reason we love when Peter Parker hits that low point is most of us have been there. Was it because the
Yeah.
Green Goblin kicked our butt and Mary Jane broke up with us? No. But we've all had that moment where it's like, I just quit. And you
Yeah.
see that moment with Spider Man, and then you see him fight back, or Batman, or Superman, or Captain America, or
It
Black Panther.
makes you invested in the
That's why you
character.
love those characters. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we don't get with Kamala Khan or Sam Wilson or any of these new characters. And Marvel, instead of getting that and going, man, we really need to come back to a back to basics approach with these characters. Let's give them story arcs. Let's give them something. Instead, it's more eh. And I think, well, the greatest example of the modern age, and I'm not a fan of the character, kids connect with Miles because I will say they have given that to Miles Morales with
Yeah.
Miles Morales and letting the uncle die and him feeling like he's not worthy of the legacy of Spider-Man and having to earn it. While I don't like that character, they do give him that kind of story. They give him a soup, and that's why I think that character has
That's a
taken off.
story. That's a story you can really sink your teeth into. You
This
know,
isn't, and they're going to keep pushing Kamala Khan. And we heard that thing from Tom Brevoort this week of Comic books don't exist as comic books anymore. They're a property farm. That's why they're not going to give you the classic X-Men. It's why they're probably not going to give you Spider-Man with Mary Jane, because in their opinion, that those stories have already been told. If they want to make movies about the classic X-Men, we have comics for that already. So they're just throwing out these new ideas. But if you're going to do that, look at what worked. You can do new ideas. I don't have a problem. If Marvel Comics says, hey, you know what? The next 10 years is Miles Morales and Kamala Khan. While that might lose me, what I will say is you're never going to succeed if you write the characters the way you're writing them. You have to give them flaws. You have to give them enemies. You have to let them fail. You have to let them hit rock bottom. You have to have them have a personality flaw the same way like Peter has one and Batman
Yeah.
has one where he's too stubborn. If you write these newer characters with kid gloves all the time where they're oh so perfect and everybody exists to tell them how great they are and anyone who doesn't compliment them is the villain, it's not going to work. And so that's the whole thing is you could make Kamala Khan work if you put the character work into it. And I know in the early appearances, there was a lot of balance for family and her balancing her faith and stuff like that. And I think that's probably why it worked early on. But who the character is now is everybody just loves her. She's so amazing. Everyone who meets her instantly is like, you're just such a great superhero. The Avengers are inspired by her in that game. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's gotten to the point where that there's that what Mary Sue, Gary Stu thing where people just talk about the perfect, flawless character that just
Yeah.
everyone loves them. That's what these characters are, and it's why they don't connect. We don't like Peter because he's the greatest hero in the world. We love him because he's a flawed character. Same with Bruce, Clark, Steve, all the other ones. If they don't get that, these are always going to
It's the
fail. And
it's the shallow storyline that runs across right now, and there's no depth to the characters. But depth is what draws the reader's heart into the story. And if you just stay shallow, you're only going to get this much interest. You're only going to get this much profit. To inspire, you're going to have to go deeper than market testing, whatever they do to figure out what demographics they're going to hit and all that kind of stuff. You have to have a true talent, somebody like Len Wein and Chris Claremont, to go deep and create these characters. Those talented people don't come cheap, and they're rare and hard to find. And the comic industry was very blessed in the 60s and into the 70s to have the creatives that they did to build these characters to where they are. And you've got to find that pool. It's out there. You have to tap it. You have to treat it respectfully. You got to pay for it. And you can create new stuff for this movie media farm that they call comic books and have something that's truly successful and unique. But you can't just, double down on, jaded, talent and tell them to go produce this at gunpoint. And you're going to come up with schlock, and you're going to come up with stuff that's just this deep. And you're not going to reinvest the heart and spirit of your fans who love these characters, are out there ready to, buy them and spend money and go see movies and buy video games and buy lots of comics, hopefully, without really investing in that talent pool.
yeah. No, and I feel bad for the folks who do like Miss Marvel, that character, because this is going to generate a ton of hate. One of the things you don't do when you besmirch older stuff, throw classics in the trash, you're just going to create so much hate for the character. It's one of the things that you see, like, I got to work a sports analogy in. So it's kind of like
Okay.
this, right? When Tom Brady left the Patriots, they didn't let anybody wear number 12 on the Patriots. They didn't run anybody out in that jersey anymore. Because what they know, if we do that, the fans are going to hate you. The
Yeah.
fans look at that jersey, that number, and go, that's the guy. You don't touch that. If we throw you out as the new quarterback in his jersey, people, well, how dare you? You're going to
Yeah.
make people angry. And that's what comic books have got to stop doing is some of these new characters, I genuinely feel bad for some of the things that they're saying creatively for them because they give them no chance. Sam Wilson had no chance to succeed as Captain America because you don't let him be his own character. And the second you put him under that cowl and call him Captain America, there is a ton of Steve Rogers fans who are like, no, that's not him. And that's always going to be the struggle. I think that's what they ran into here. Let us know, though.
And
What do you guys think below? Uh, what do you think of this entire rewriting the comic? Do you think this is just a temporary stunt? Do you think they're actually going to go hardcore on this and try to kind of write it? It's always interesting for us to hear your guys' thoughts. Let us know what you guys think. As always, folks, thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you, and we'll catch you in our next video.
thanks, everybody.
All right.